Hey guys, what's up? So, as I promised, I was going to get into a rant before I did anything else. And this particular one is actually, it's been a long time coming. And with all the stuff that's been happening lately, particularly here in the US with certain social movements that have been going on, certain movements in society, and certain changes that have been going on, I would like to address something that's been bothering me for a long time. Maybe I touched on it in a video in the past in this channel. Maybe I haven't. Maybe it's something I've discussed with a couple of you guys off the channel. Maybe not. But I do really feel like talking about it now. And no, I'm not really going to be getting into any specifics as far as things that have been going on, because if I do that, then this video is going to be a lot longer than it's going to be. And I don't want to stretch this out any longer than it has to. Let me get on with it. You know, no matter what issue you happen to take up and your position on it, inevitably you're going to bump into, the notion that people want things to be better, quote unquote. Usually by better, they usually mean like more fair, for everybody involved, more nurturing for everybody involved, like things to be more humane. There are, of course, people who, when they mean better, they just simply mean better for a certain select group of people. Or they just mean, like, okay, better for us, but horrible for them. Like, those people need to be punished. Like, their focus is more on punishment and pain rather than just making sure there's a better overall experience for everybody, regardless of who you are, or what you believe in, or what you follow, or what you look like, or how you ended up popping up on this planet biologically. And that's all well and good. But I find one of the major things that get in the way of any sorts of progress is the, celebration of psychopaths. And this seems to be universal. And it's something that I don't see too many people talking about. I mean, in some ways, yeah, there's some people who point it out, and, rightfully so. And there are other people who kind of like, they touch on it, but they don't really, they don't fully realize that that could be one of the sources of the problems we're dealing with. Some of you guys might be going like, what do you mean by celebrating psychopaths? Well, in general, if you look at history and the way it's taught, there are supposed great men and women that we're supposed to be looking up to. And in modern day societies, there are certain people, certain elites, certain leaders that will be pointed to as examples of modern day great men and women. People that, like, you see them, that's what you need to be like if you want to be successful, or if you want to be great, or if you want to be considered, like a high level human being, whatever. And then you look at the behavior of these people, like if you're actually willing to look at them with an actual thinking mind. You're not just simply celebrating their status and not just simply calling them great because everyone else is. You look at their behavior, and you look at how they got to their position, and you realize that the ethics that they follow wouldn't pass muster in a kindergarten class. Like, these are the sorts of things you would never teach kids on how to behave. But once you become adults, it's okay. And like, why is it that people do that? Why do we, try to pattern our behavior on, some of the biggest jerks that humanity has to offer? Like, wouldn't our society actually work a hell of a lot better if we stopped celebrating people who pretty much favor, leading onto their more selfish tendencies and, their more psychopathic tendencies? Like, why is it that we celebrate people who just, like, run rampant when it comes to those things? And I see this all over. It's not just, the powers that be, quote unquote, who do this. I mean, look at this person. He's great. Why is he great? Oh, well, because, in war, he was able to take over this army, wiped out this army, subjugated this nation. And it's like, that's fucked up behavior. This is not exactly the sort of thing that you're supposed to, teach everyday people on how to live. Like, hey, that land, I want to conquer that land. Let's go round up these people and put weapons in their hands and let's go out there and kill all of them and take their land and haha, I'm great. This is like, straight up, asshole. This is the sort of thing that if you're making a movie out of it, that's the guy who you want to take down. The evil emperor, so to speak. But it's okay in real life. You can do that in real life. But and then they wonder why society's screwed up. People complain about big business and, the tactics that they do. They try to monopolize. They take over smaller companies. They buy out smaller companies. They, sell inferior products, sometimes dangerous products. And they do things which, screw society up. Now, granted, there is more of a backlash against this sort of thing, but it wasn't that long ago that people were like, yeah, you want to grow up to be a businessman and have a large company and be powerful and take over and be successful. It's like, this isn't behavior that is exactly ethical. Even today we're seeing major examples of this. I mean, and people are rightfully pointing out, like, what the fuck? Like Nestle, for instance, continuing to leach water out of California despite the fact that they've been going through like a several years drought now. Plus, it's also illegal, which, by the way, I'm wondering why the hell is it that... Okay, we know it's illegal. We know what they're doing is wrong, and no government agency is moving in to start slapping silver bracelets on people and send them on their way. I question that, but never mind. I'm getting into specifics. I know I'm speaking in general, but I just want to get to the general point because everyone is doing it. Even, groups of people that you might consider marginalized. They will take some leader in the past who was known to basically be brutal, like just chopping off heads or sticking people on pikes or whatever. And like, that guy was a great leader. He butchered tons of freaking people. Why should we celebrate this guy? And I'm sure there's going to be the inevitable, well, no, this guy was fighting for a cause. Like he was fighting for freedom, or he was fighting to, get rid of oppression or whatever. And maybe you might be able to find examples of that. But by and large, many times when you look into it, you realize, no, that's not the reason why the guy was doing that. He was doing that way before he took up a cause. He just happened to be in the right place at the right time. He was a monster for the people, so to speak, or something like that. And the reason why this bothers me is because we prop these people up as examples of, the highest levels of humanity. They're our leaders. We look up to them. Be like that. Society reflects that. And then you wonder why your society's screwed up. If the moral values of your society are basically revolving around the behavior of a bunch of jackasses, then that's how your society is going to function. Those are the basic rules that it's going to be working with. Even if they have laws basically stating that you're not supposed to act that way, once you make it to the elite circles themselves are like, well, we pattern ourselves after the jackass and now we're elite. And therefore we're protected, from any investigations or anything like that. And that's generally what you see. Because there's the law, and then there's just the way society just tends to function. And we've seen plenty of examples of that, haven't we? Where, you see tons of examples of like authoritative abuse. You see examples of people in high circles who did heinous things, and you would, think that just like the people who, everyday folk, like they would probably get hit with every single last bit of the law for their actions, but somehow they get off. Oh, we'll put them on community service. Oh, this guy is too rich to be thrown in jail. He didn't know any better. Shit like that, which we're beginning to see. And it's because we've pretty much patterned ourselves after complete and total asshats. That, people who just, exhibit some really abhorrent behavior and some really selfish tendencies. And when you sit down and remember, if you ever knew at all, that humans are supposed to be a social species. That's why we form societies in the first place. That's why we, come together in the first place. We're social creatures. Social creatures are, the only way social creatures are able to function and survive in nature is to come together and work within each other harmoniously, more or less. I'm not saying there aren't going to be, a few little personality clashes here and there. That happens. But by and large, humanity as a whole are they supposed to work with each other. And that's a natural tendency for humanity. It's only when somebody else basically says, no, you're not supposed to like those people over there. No, you're not supposed to like this guy over there. That's when a lot of our, social conflicts come in. But the funny thing is, when you actually get to know the people who are supposed to be the bad guys, and you realize, no, there's nothing wrong with this dude. And then you realize that the only reason why you told that, well, if you're willing to do that bit of soul searching, you realize that the only reason why I felt like I hated this guy is because they told me to hate this person. And it's all because one or two or three people have a hang-up, some type of freaking psychotic hang-up with that difference in that individual that they force, other groups of people to have a problem with that group. And this happens all the freaking time. But really, it's like, on the individual level, when people start getting together, the divisions just melt away because we're humans. Human beings want to band together. Every single last advantage that humans have enjoyed over the centuries have only been gotten because of groups of people and the fruits of groups of people coming together. This sort of behavior, this sort of coming together and working harmoniously with each other, you need a peaceful environment for that. And you need an attitude of, you can't be selfish for this sort of thing to work. And whoever's running this sort of thing, if your society is going to be based off of that natural inclination for humanity to come together, the people running things can't have the type of personality or set of values that basically says everything is mine, it's all mine, and I can do whatever the hell I want to that group, or fuck this group of people. You can't have that. But that's what we have. Because you look throughout history, we've constantly given accolades and, titles to people who are like, fuck that group. Or I can take whatever the hell I want from that group, and I can do whatever the hell I want to this group. Those are the people we put on top. We don't shove them to the side and get the fuck out of here. We don't do that. And it's gotten so bad that now, when you have people going, you're not supposed to act this way, those are the people we shove to the side down. Those who want to live, harmoniously, or those who want things to be fair for everybody else because they're realizing only a select few are benefiting. When those people are complaining about that, saying, fuck this stupid bleeding heart motherfucker, and you wonder why your society's screwed up. Because your society has basically been sculpted and molded by selfish motherfuckers, bloodthirsty motherfuckers, inhumane motherfuckers. And this is a centuries-long thing. To the point where that if you were going to start to try to dismantle it, that's going to be a very long struggle. Which could be why people are having such a hard time trying to get any improvements around here, because you're going against something that's tradition at this point. And tradition is pretty much just like any bad habit. The only reason why it's strong is because you keep doing it. And just like an individualistic human has a hard time getting rid of a bad habit because it was repetition, doing the same thing over and over again. And now you're trying to break that habit, and it's hard. You got to try to, and generally, the way people usually are able to get rid of that bad habit is to replace it with a good one, and then try to repeat that behavior over and over and over again. It's sort of the same thing with society. You got to, try to stop the bad habits or the selfish tendencies or the things that hurt, people, and try to replace it with something that helps. And that seems to be hard for societies to do. You're used to fucking people over. It's kind of hard now for the society to okay, how do we, and this, how do we do the good thing? And it's going to be backlash. I liked it the old way. That I think is a good part of the problems we're having. Look at people that were celebrated in the past. I really, really like people. I don't care who you are or who you celebrate. Try to see if that leader that they're trying to prop up wasn't some type of asshole. And you probably will find that, that guy was an asshole. I wouldn't name names, but right now I'm trying not to because I want people to, research this for themselves. I don't want to because the problem is when you start talking like this and you start giving examples, people tend to yeah, you're right, without doing any research themselves, because I can come up with a bunch of names that I might be lying to you guys. I would rather you guys come to that self-realization yourself where you look up certain leaders or look up certain people who everyone says you need to be like this, and then you look at what they actually did, look at their personal behavior, and you're like, this is not the sort of person I'd want around my kids. This is not the sort of person who I'd want teaching kids or teaching people how to behave. You look at what they've done. killed motherfuckers for no reason, or they had an insane streak, or they, they found ways to enslave people and make them be happy to be enslaved, or they were basing their entire life luxuries on the works of other people. Like they're just really selfish individuals who did not believe in actually sharing what they had and making something harmonious for whoever it is that they were lording over. Always trying to find ways to cause conflict. These are the people that we prop up. And worse, we now live in societies that reflect this behavior to the point where our governments are pretty much like, coming up with ways to undermine other nations instead of coming up with peaceful solutions. Oh, we can't do X, Y, and Z because we need to keep them from rising. We need to keep them from gaining power or being on an equal plane with us. We always have to find some way to undermine them. We have to always be on top. Why? So yeah, this is something that's been bothering me for years. I might have done a video on this already, or talked about this in some other form or fashion. But this is something that's really gotten to me. We celebrate assholes. We reward assholes. We put them on pedestals. We put them in big chapters in history. We dedicate education to studying these people and talk about how great they are and why we should be happy that they were around. It's like this. Okay, maybe you can come up with examples of, these guys, because of what they've done, maybe they liberated a group of people, or maybe, they were able to found this new country, or maybe they were able to, they were able to get, some other oppressor off their back. But then it's sort of like, okay, we had this one monster, and we're able to either put a leash on him or get this monster to go amok on the people we didn't like. And that's why he's great. The guy's still a monster. And we really shouldn't be rewarding monstrous behavior. We really shouldn't. And also, if I'm going to be adding one last thing before I end this, because it's now 17 minutes. If we really want society to function, shouldn't we celebrate the actions of groups of people making something work, rather than spending so much time in history studying one individual or a certain small select group of people who found ways to twist society to suit their own ends? Wouldn't it be a lot better to, dedicate our education towards, here are these groups of people who, despite a whole lot of, overwhelming odds, found ways to secure rights or found ways to make things better for people around them who they probably didn't even know, or people who, they're like, X, Y, and Z is wrong. We're fighting for this because this means it'll be better for everybody. People who had those ideals. You don't really spend too much time studying people like that, except in small situations, or because a holiday might be coming up. We don't really spend time focusing on individuals who fought to make lives better for people, rather than fighting to make us, for conquest, for glory, for selfish reasons. And just accepting differences. And it's funny because, deep down inside, that's what we really want. Religions wouldn't everyone talks about, I'm going to bring up a name now. Everybody brings up Jesus and Jesus, because of how compassionate he was. It didn't matter who the hell he was talking to. It's like, whether you were a sinner from a different tribe, to an extent, there was an incident where he didn't really like a woman. I don't want to get into that yet. I've done a video on it already. But in general, people, when they bring up Jesus, they always bring up his compassion, right? And how he accepted everybody, more or less. It's all about love and compassion. Treat your neighbor as you treat yourself. He shared everything with people and all this type of stuff. And, it's great. That's the type of behavior that, that's what you use to celebrate your religion. But then when it comes to everyday life, that's not how you act, is it? This guy, let's see what Jesus would do. But in everyday life, no, fuck these guys, kill them. It's kind of funny how we got that little bit of a double standard here. But deep down inside, we know that that's the better way to act. To be the type of person who's like, nah, everybody deserves to have a good life. If you're in a society, everybody deserves to have, whatever. Everybody deserves to have a society that treats them fairly, treats them openly. Otherwise, why the hell are you in that society to begin with? The only reason why a society should be working against you is if you're somehow detrimenting the whole. And I found that many of the villains that popular society likes to come up with, they're not, destroying society in any way. It's the motherfuckers who are in control of it that are fucking society up. To bring the Jesus example up again. There was one group of people he did have a problem with, and he demonstrably had a problem with them so much that they reported it twice. It was in the marketplace. And the one big speech that he did, when he's like, "You hypocrites," were the leaders, the ones in control. Everyday people he didn't really have a problem with. Food for thought. They don't really talk about that, but they talk about his compassion, but they seem to forget that he had a problem with a group of people, and there were a select few of them. 20 minutes. Too long. I need to hurry up and get this done. Once I finish recording, edit it, put it up. It's toward the end of the month. I need to get those other videos I promised. So anyway, that's all I'm ranting about. Hope it was clear cut to you, because I know I was kind of all over the place. Catch you guys later.